Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Nation Wants to Know. Most often we've been talking to politicians on this program. We've been speaking to some international newsmakers. Today I actually am on air with two people who are celebrities in their own right. They are legends. I respect them a lot. I hope they don't mind if I call them friends also. I've known them over the years. We're broadly the same vintage as well, and I think that till I retire, Leander won't. So one of us will have to do it first. But it's great to have. I think it's great to meet you again, Leander and Mahesh. And let me say, it's just a privilege to be on the same screen with the both of you. You know. And how do I introduce you? I don't think in this country either you, Leander, or Mahesh need an introduction. But for me, it's a different introduction I want to share. For our generation, when we came out of college after economic reforms, Mahesh and Leander, both of you started representing something very special. For all of us in our 20s then, we saw you as people who were winning at the global level individually, and then as a dream team, you know. I think you gave a lot of confidence to a whole generation. And Indians were just beginning to come out. People were getting jobs in global organizations. Y2K had still not come in. And both of you showed what it is to be winners at the global stage. So that's why we love you a lot. And I think it's amazing, viewers, that these two wonderful gentlemen have come together to do a very honest series called Breakpoint. What brought them together and what took them apart. And it's just launched on Z5, and I think it's a must-watch. So Leander and Mahesh, welcome.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Arnab.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure to be on with you. Always a pleasure to share the screen with you.
Amazing. Tell me one thing. Would this interview have been different if the three of us were sitting in one room?
I know there would be a chest bump for sure.
I don't think so.
Okay, Lee, go first.
There probably would have been a chest bump, Arnab.
What about you, Mahesh?
I don't think so. I think, I think we feed off each other. We've been perfectly candid, when it came to the show, and we've recently been doing an immense number of promotions. So we've got that down one after another.
So, Leander, why did you Leander, why did you do this? Why would you reopen the wounds of the past?
Arnab, we've been getting offers to do a Bollywood feature film for the last 20 years. And both of us has been saying no to it because I personally felt that you cannot capture the Leander Mahesh story in a 90-minute or a 120-minute feature film. There are so many different nuances to this story. There are so many different human stories that are attached to the Leander Mahesh story. So hence, I always believed that a docu-series was the way to do it. I respect Mahesh tremendously for the fact of being courageous enough to tell this story so true and so real. And then also when Nitesh Tiwari and Ashwini Iyer Tiwari came to the table, Z5 came for giving us this opportunity to tell it raw and real.
But Mahesh, there must have been a moment when you, before you agree to do something like this, where you are opening your whole life up and you realize that you got to be honest and everything's not going to be nice and rosy. People may not like things you say, and others may say things about you which you wouldn't like to be put out in the public domain, right? Did you have those thoughts as well?
Honestly, Arnab, I think we both heard it all. I definitely have. Heard it all and much more. So I wanted to, at some level, definitely hear Leander's perspective. I don't think we have, as it comes through in the show, communicated anywhere near enough during or even after. And, Nitesh and Ashwini gave us an immense amount of comfort when we spoke to them initially that they would allow us to tell the story independently. And I think that was the beauty of it and why it's come out so well. And, after watching it now twice, I kind of, buy his perspective because he was fed with certain amount of information, and I'm sure it's vice versa. And I definitely think we're happier for it now.
Many times you talk about healing. Are you healing through this? You know, Leander talks about it, that whenever you broke up, you came back again and you broke up again. It was very quick. And you didn't heal. Is this about healing for you somewhere, Leander?
Yes, Arnab, this is definitely about coming together and completing conversations that were left open. This is also coming together and revisiting certain conversations that maybe we didn't have enough wisdom or enough experience at that point in 1999 to address. The one thing I love about what we've done in the last 20 months is that I've got my younger brother back. Not that he went anywhere, but we just hadn't communicated as much as we do now. You know, and that's the fun part for me. The reason I started playing with Mahesh was because I really like him as a guy. He's very different than me. I'm very different than him. We have different perspectives on things. But there's some magic that we have. And the beautiful part about making Breakpoint is that we can even laugh at ourselves, you know. Now we look at certain situations and we say, you know, yes, we take responsibility for what happened, but we also take responsibility for putting India on the map, to being the first team from India to win Grand Slams, to having the world record in 24 undefeated Davis Cup wins, and to prove to a couple generations, Arnab, because three of us are from the same generation, and all three of us have grown together. And I remember umpteen number of conversations with you about how to guide my career in certain ways. And in that, I feel like what Mahesh and myself have been able to do over 2 decades is to prove to Indians that we can be world leaders as well, that we can be champions too.
Mahesh, you come across, for those who don't know you personally, in this series as the more introverted guy, a person of fewer words, you know, who probably keeps a lot in his heart, doesn't always say things. And, you know, I felt that came across when there's a part where, you know, when you hear about Leander having a tumor in the brain, your reaction at that point of time was so emotional. But I really doubt if you would have said everything that you felt. You know what I mean? So maybe you carried a lot within you, Mahesh. Am I right in making that assumption about you? That because of the kind of person that you are, you're not perhaps as communicative, and hence you needed something like this to heal, you know, to communicate with Leander, with everyone around, with yourself?
Yeah, I think so. And I still think, you know, there's still a lot of stuff, you know, in me. I think, you know, like I said in the show, when it came to Leander, I think every decision I made through my career was emotional, you know, because before we became partners, you know, I came 5 years later on tour. So you know, I transcended from being a fan to a friend to a partner, and then to a world beater, all in one journey with the same guy. So every decision I took was emotional. And, you know, we look back today, I know living in hindsight is easy. And like Leander said, he wishes, you know, at times he just picked up the phone and spoke to me. And, you know, I currently wish that I, you know, at times just went and gave him a hug for no reason. And, you know, we would have probably, I mean, we made history, you know, when it came to a lot of context in Indian sport, but, you know, we had an opportunity to make extraordinary history when it came to the sport of tennis. And, you know, that's possibly what we kind of lost out on.
Yeah, because you're dealing with a very emotional guy. I mean, Leander is a person who keeps his emotions on his sleeve on court and even in conversations. I mean, whenever I've spoken to Leander, he gets emotional at the slightest instant. He completely goes into what would I say? You are smiling, Mahesh. I'm sure you know that Leander's eyes can water at an instant and you don't know what to do with it after that, you know?
Yeah.
You want to have a rational conversation with the guy and the guy is turning more and more emotional and there's no way he can be pulled out of that kind of situation. And you know, so Leander, you know, I think there's been a lot of miscommunication between the both of you, right? So I'll ask a couple of questions. Mahesh, tell me, what do you still have in your heart? You just said something, you revealed something. You just said there's still a lot that is unsaid, right? What is it that you're
No,
carrying,
I think-
like you're saying?
I think
What
there's
is
a
it?
lot unsaid between me and him. I mean, I messaged him yesterday actually saying, I actually messaged him and he said, what the hell does that mean? And he said, I told him I've just watched the full show for the first time. So, I think from hearing his side and, his ecosystem side, I probably put a few things together which probably make sense on some of his reactions and some of the things that didn't go the way we should. And, hopefully, I'll be able to have that discussion on what my deduction is from the episodes with him at some point now.
You think you misunderstood him sometime, Mahesh?
No, I don't think. I think we understood each other really well, pretty much as well, or if not better than anyone else. But I probably didn't cut him enough slack at times for some of the things that I should have. Like you said, he's a very emotional guy, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way, with his childhood and his upbringing. And I wish I kind of had this insight at that time. I would have definitely cut him a lot of slack.
Leander, did you're a year older than Mahesh, but you were quicker and earlier into the circuit, right? When he was in college, you were already in the circuit. So when you teamed up with him, tell me honestly, did you feel like his patron? Did you feel that you had given him a great opportunity? And did you carry that with you? As in, did you feel he owes you? At the early years, I'm talking about the early years, did you carry that in your heart somewhere, Lee, in the early years?
So I don't feel that anyone owes anyone anything other than just respect. And in that, I feel that as much as I gave to Mahesh, I think Mahesh gave to me as well. I wouldn't be the man I am today without this experience of the Indian Express and without sharing 20 years with this young man. I think that at that point of time, I did feel, Arnab, that I gave up my singles for our doubles team. I did feel like I started focusing on getting to world number one in singles rather than getting to world number one in doubles, rather than taking my singles ranking from 73 to top 50 or top 30, wherever I could have gone. But really, I think that was a conscious decision that I made, because I wanted to prove to India that we could be number one in the world. I didn't feel like if I was top 50 in the world in singles or top 30 in the world in singles, whether that would make much of a difference. But I felt that from the minute I met Mahesh in Colombo in 1989 in February, I felt the magic that both of us could win Wimbledon. Both of us could be number one in the world. And Arnab, at that point, as you know through your amazing career also, there was no textbook to teach us how to achieve success. There was no textbook to teach us how to win Wimbledon. So all we had was each other. So I definitely take responsibility for my mistakes I've made. Watching this docuseries, I feel like I wish I just picked up the phone a few times, like after I won Wimbledon with Mahesh in 1999. And in the mixed doubles, I was playing the mixed doubles final and said, hey, let's go for breakfast tomorrow morning. And I'll take responsibility for the things that I could have done better. Because at the end of the day, with the test of time, Arnab, we have seen the best of times together, we've seen the worst of times together, and we still stand here in an era where social media is projecting everyone's best foot forward. We are still here telling you raw and real. And that's the courage that, again, both of us gave each other the confidence, and also Ashwini, Nitesh, Piyush, the whole Z5 team, the guys at Collective Artists who brought us together, Vijay Subramaniam and Ashu Nayak, they all gave us the confidence to tell it raw. And that's what we did.
So you are saying that you don't really feel you made some huge sacrifice to your career? Because what can happen in the early years is that you're young and you're doing extremely well. At one point in the series, Mahesh says that, see, 1 year back I was in Mississippi in college, and then 1 year later I was, winning these Grand Slams. So things happened very, 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 very quickly, right? And you're both very young. Maybe, do you feel, Mahesh, there was one point where you said that after I won the mixed doubles Grand Slam, and when I went to meet and play with Leander again, he didn't really congratulate me or he didn't really respond to me like I thought he should have. And you use an expression in there, you said, oh, well played, dude, or something like that, some short expression. Now this is such a small thing, but it has such a big impact. Do you feel the same way now, or when you look back, Mahesh, what really happened? I want to just extrapolate that moment. What did you expect Lee to say to you, perhaps? What did you expect him to react to you? What did you expect out of him?
Oh, so I probably expected a bear hug, which I didn't get, but which was fine. I mean, it's nothing. I think the emotion that came out at that time was something that I immediately understood. When it came to our doubles, we were always, on the same page, right? We were equals, because if I didn't perform, we were not going to win. If Leander didn't perform, we were not going to win. So we both had to come to the party to keep a certain level. At that time, Leander was obviously, since 1990, since he had won junior Wimbledon, he was the main man in Indian tennis. All of a sudden, this kid comes and wins a mixed doubles Grand Slam, and is now talked about in the same breath, because we hadn't come close to even making a semi-final of the doubles till then, right? So talked about in the same breath. Is it going to affect him for a little while? I think it was expected. And when Rico said to me, it's affecting him, I said, that's fine. But I don't think it's going to change our relationship. It's going to change our partnership. And it didn't, because that happened in 97 in May. And we were still, great friends in 97, 98. We went on to win Grand Slams in 99. So it was an episode that I kind of called out, but I saw it and I understood it. And I think that's normal. If it was vice versa, I would have probably felt the same.
Yeah. Leander, you're such an emotional, effusive guy. Were you held back in your response? It seems extraordinary.
It's so funny, Arnab, that before this docuseries and seeing Mahesh's reaction and Rico's reaction and things, I remember that very time at Queen's Club when Mahesh had just won the French Open mixed doubles and came to Queen's Club. And I was so focused on actually getting our doubles going. And as both you guys know me so well, when it comes to on-court, I'm thoroughly professional. So I was focused on actually getting going with that. So when we met at the club, we met at the tennis court, I was like, great job, good job, tapped him on the back and went to work. Now when I watch it after the docuseries of Breakpoint, once again, I feel like I should have picked up the phone and taken him for a celebration. Yeah. I should have gone and popped some champagne with him.
Yeah.
Because this man's had an unbelievable career. He's the first Indian Grand Slam champion. He's won 12 Grand Slams.
Yeah.
So maybe after watching the docuseries, I feel that I'm man enough to own up.
It's great of you to say that and to sort of acknowledge that. You know how things are. They just happen. And amazing thing, viewers, if you see these series and you see these two geniuses, and because they were not supposed to be there. Let me put it very simply. I'm not into sport, but the statistical probability of an Indian team being number one and winning a Grand Slam was impossible. And that's what Shailendra Singh says at one point of time. I think there's a talk about signing a contract if you win the French Open. And the initial reaction is that he sort of laughs it off. But it did happen. It did happen. But tell me one thing. I think, did you get too much into each other's life? Okay, let me, another thought which I, see, there are two different personalities. You got two families with you. You got your very, very emotionally connected, professionally committed dads with you. I don't think there is any such combination, Mahesh or Lee, anywhere in the world, where your fathers are effectively your first coaches, right? And along with that comes the support staff, comes the families, comes a lot of things. Oh, Mahesh, tell me, if that had not been the case, suppose there had been Mahesh, Bhupathi and Leander Paes, it can equally be argued that without the families there wouldn't have been a Mahesh, Bhupathi and Leander Paes. But at the same time, if you had been as just a professional pair working together, playing on the field, keeping your on-field chemistry, but not with the rest of the teams and families and coaches involved, would things have been different?
Yeah, I think we would have lasted the distance, to be honest. I think the bond and the camaraderie that we shared started the first big tournament we played together in Jakarta. It was just him and me there. We did everything from morning to night, from playing tennis to practicing to watching movies to going to the mall in Jakarta for lunch to going to the virtual golf. Leander was, at that time, obviously he was a top seed of the tournament. I was in the qualifying of the singles. So it was like, it was my one-off tournament before I went back to college. And, he was extremely generous. I still remember we played this virtual golf, and we were supposed to pay for it. And he said, let me pay for it. Let my sponsors, exactly his words, let my sponsors take care of it. You can do it in a couple of years. And, that kind of translated. We didn't see each other after Jakarta for literally, we didn't play again for 15 months. And we played again in Aruba. And again in Aruba, there was nobody else. It was just us. We were doing everything from water skiing to winning the tournament. And that bond, if that carried on, I think it would have we would have lasted the distance. But obviously, when you start playing Grand Slams and winning Grand Slams, and you see everyone's entourage today is 20 deep. 20 years ago, it was 3 or 4 people deep, and people are telling him, oh, why are you sacrificing your singles? Why are you doing this crap? People are telling me, you shouldn't be in his shadow. You should speak up more. I mean, yeah. That's exactly what it was, right? I mean, none of us meant any malice. Both of us have our pros and cons as human beings, but we were just getting along fine and winning that time too. So, we didn't really change as human beings. We just, our ecosystems kind of, I think, forced us to think differently. And honestly, the more I watch the show, I understand. I mean, I can point out episodes of other people talking about stuff that literally did not happen. When Sanjay Singh says that I went and played with Max Mirny at Indian Wells, I did not. I played with Jan Michael Gamble. But he probably came and told Leander I played it with Max Mirny, or I signed up with Max, and then Leander makes his own interpretation about different things and starts reacting emotionally like he is, right? Oh. So, and it's vice versa. So it's just, we look back today and laugh, but it is what it is.
Well, I mean, wow. I mean, look at the impact that has. I mean, what I take away from that, Leander, is Mahesh is saying, and I'm sure you won't disagree with it, that as individuals, you are perfectly okay with each other. I mean, if you see, this is, but by the time you became big stars, you were not individuals anymore, Leander. You had you had your own teams around you. And I saw at one point you also said, okay, so in the second episode of the series, you go into the time of the 1997, I think, French Open, right? And Mahesh becomes India's first Grand Slam champion. And Leander Paes, you say that a kida of doubt was put in your head. In another episode, you say that someone put a kida in Mahesh's head that you threw at the Athens Olympic match because he didn't want you to win the medal. So who was putting these kidas? What do you mean by these kidas that were put in his head? Because this is about discord. The claim is basically, the point is that the discord was being fed and somebody was putting seeds of doubt in Mahesh's head and maybe perhaps also in your head.
So exactly like Mahesh just said there in the last answer, Arnab, that we started off our careers where Mahesh came from college and I was on the tour, and we only had each other. We'd go do golf together, we'd go eat together, we'd watch movies together, we'd spend literally, other than 8 hours of sleeping at night, we spent the rest of the whole day together. But as we grew and grew in stature and as our results in Grand Slam started getting better, we started having coaches around, trainers around, family traveling, people around. And in that, I felt like we had lost the essence of what got us together, which is our individual bond and friendship. I feel that is where one of the areas where I take responsibility in saying maybe I should have picked up the phone more often as the senior partner or the senior brother and said, "Chalo yaar, ice cream khate hain. Chalo yaar, Sholay aur ek baar dekhte hain." Or maybe let's, when the day finishes and the coaches and the trainers and the physios and the managers and the families and everyone had done our work for the day, maybe taken in for a drink and just had a laugh again and bonded again and connected again.
Why didn't you,
But
Leander?
the essence of Breakpoint
Why didn't
really...
you? Why didn't? You're a sensitive person. In fact, if there's any fault you have, it is of over-communication. I find it bizarre that you didn't.
That's what I thought, Arnab. And when you watched episode number 4, Wimbledon, in 1989, my first conversation with Mahesh was, "Hi, I'm Leander. Would you like to win Wimbledon with me?" And he said, "You're crazy." I said, "Yes, I'm crazy, but would you like to win Wimbledon with me or not?" 10 years later, we won Wimbledon. But the beauty of Breakpoint really shows how champions are also vulnerable on another. And in episode 4, as soon as we won Wimbledon, the magical look on Mahesh's face, where he actually covered his head with a towel and walked to the side, the bench where we sat on the left-hand side of the umpire's chair. When we sat down, in that fraction of a second or another, if you notice in the beginning of that clip, episode 4, as soon as he had won Wimbledon, I looked at Mahesh to my right. He had his head in his hands. When I looked away, he looked back at me. The rawness in the passion that we have towards each other was what we had lost in communication. I wish that as the makings of Breakpoint, and I've watched all the archival footage, I've watched all the matches, the reactions, the points, the human emotion between us. I wish I had the benefit of watching that at the end of 99. In the off-season of 99, when we were going through such a tough time and we weren't communicating, I wish I had seen that one look in this young man's face when he looked at me after we won Wimbledon.
What was the look?
I probably would have picked up the phone.
What was
and
the
maybe
look?
What
was the look?
It was love. It was care. It was respect. It was, "You're crazy, but we just did it." It was pure.
But why did he look at you when you were looking away? Mahesh,
That's human timing.
Why did you?
That's human timing. I looked at him and he didn't see me. He looked at me, I didn't see him. And I think the moral of a lot of the Leander Mahesh story is that communication is the essence of life. Communication to reach out to the other and say, "Bhai, hum dono ne bahut acha badhiya kaam kiya hai. Yes, we have coaches, we have trainers, we are conquering the world, we have contracts all over, like Shailendra said also. But today, let's just go get some ice cream together." Yeah. Why? Because I just enjoy being with you. I'll tell you this on the Arnab show today, that when we get back to Bombay together, I know that in the last few days, Mahesh, having watched Breakpoint, has a lot more emotions that are there, which I can see on his face now. Today, I'll tell you that, Mahesh, come over for dinner. I'll get you your butter chicken and roti. We'll sit down and we'll
wonderful.
have some more conversation and maybe come up with season 2.
Yeah. Wow. Mahesh, you want to say anything? You remember that moment at Wimbledon? 22 years back?
I did when I saw the footage. I mean, I think it was just, that was pure emotion from both of us. You know, that was a dream that so many, but obviously we saw, but so many Indian tennis players have seen in the past that came true. And it was, moment of shock. And yeah, he was looking at me and I had my hands in my head. When I put my hands up, he was looking down and he was emotional. So it was definitely a special moment.
Wow. You know, when you look at that moment and then you think about the other small episodes that drew you apart, they seem so small. I mean, what can I say? They seem so insignificant. But that's it, right? I mean, let me put it this way. Since you revealed a lot by saying that we are around the same vintage, I was pretending to be 10 years younger than Leander. I've always done that. But since you, you know, one thing about growing older is you look back and reflect at how stupid you were at moments of time. That's, I mean that, you know, at one point of time in this series, Mahesh says Leander, and okay, so if there's a catharsis going on, let it be, okay? This is not an interview, it's a chat between us. He says, you didn't call him when you had the shoulder injury. And again, I think if you didn't, that was bad, Leander, because he was feeling vulnerable and he was feeling lonely, and I think he was feeling insecure. There was some part where he says that 15% of his muscle on his shoulder had to be shaved off and cut off. He felt vulnerable. Should he have been more around for him then, Leander? You were very busy also, but what do you think?
So Arnab, I did the best thing I knew how.
How?
Was that I actually sent my coach of 30 years, Sanjay Singh, to live with him. I asked Sanjay specifically to not travel with me on tour and to go to New York and live with Mahesh and help him recover faster so we could play together. And as Mahesh said, he had Sanjay with him. They went through rehab together. They lived in the same apartment, I think, Hesh, you guys were in.
Yeah.
And then Sanjay was taking Mahesh through rehab. So I gave up my coach, who is my traveling confidant, my best friend, my physical trainer, my fitness trainer. I gave up my trainer and I traveled alone on the tour to send Sanjay to Mahesh because he was more important than I at that time. He needed the help.
So when did where was the misunderstanding, Mahesh? Why did you say that at that point that, you know, and that is also the point where Enrico Piperno's comes out and appears that was a little bit of an issue between both of you about him. What was happening in your mind then?
That's probably been the toughest point, toughest phase for me in my career, right? Because I was coming back, you know, we were number one in the world in '99 in November. We just finished the year. You know, within 2 weeks, I was under the knife, having surgery. You know, when you're having surgery, especially to your playing arm, I mean, every question has popped up. You know, doctors are saying if this doesn't recover, you got to do it again. You may never play again. You know, and then obviously, you know, Leander protecting himself, he's not going to commit to play with me till you know, I'm 100% fit. And on top of that, I've never played with anybody because when I came straight out of college, Leander was my first partner. So I'm like, you know, this is like, if it can get any worse, it cannot get any worse. So I called Leander and I said, listen, it's just, you know, a frightful time for me. I need somebody who understands me, and I'm not going to bring Rico back full time because I understand I made a commitment to you that, you know, we'll work with Bob together alone. So just give me 2 months. Give me 2 months, and you know, Rico will get me back on track just till Wimbledon, May and June. And you know, that's when, you know, Leander's kind of had enough negativity, I guess I can say, against Rico, saying that, you know, sorry man, it doesn't matter. But you know, the way I was thinking about it was, listen, somebody has to start thinking about me because I've just gone under the knife. You know, I'm not even sure I can serve 100%, forget about play 100% anymore. And I just needed people around me who can, you know, get me through emotionally. And, you know, that's what kind of contributed to the first split.
Mahesh, did you mix up your personal and professional? Because if you see the series, you get a feeling that you are going through various personal ups and downs. And unfortunately, a lot of what was happening on court and what was happening between you two, Leander, coincided with your personal ups and downs. I won't go into what those ups and downs were, but you were you were breaking down at 2 or 3 points in this series where you say, you know, I was also going through it was a very difficult year. 98 or 99, you say it was a very difficult year for me. Then again you say later when you had that chat in Hartford, you know, when you had a chat in Florida 2001, 2002 after you came back and broke up again, was there a lot happening around you personally, Leander? Can you hear me? Was there a lot happening around you personally that, you know, that affected you also? Can you talk a little bit about that?
So, you know, like without giving away too much of the docuseries, also to touch on it, that watching the docuseries and seeing what both Mahesh and myself were going through, I felt when he had his shoulder surgery, I sent the best thing that I could to send Sanjay Singh to him to look after him. So hence, in my thought process, it was doing the best by Mahesh. That being said, when I also went to hospital, Mahesh actually showed up. It showed how much heart he had. So he also did the best by me. But I think sometimes in life, Arnab, and maybe we call it karma, maybe we call it timing. But I think when, just as we had that karma to win Wimbledon, and I was able to foresee it in 1989, and I verbalized it to Mahesh that let's go win Wimbledon together. Then 10 years later, we did win Wimbledon. Maybe there's karma also where maybe we were meant to also have a tough one, where maybe our timing, just as that episode number 4, just as winning Wimbledon, sitting on the bench, when I showed care for Mahesh, maybe I should have showed it more. When he showed care for me, maybe he should have shown it more. But in that, we did not have any malice towards each other ever. And I think that's the beautiful part of our bond, is that we have always been true to each other. We've always been honest with each other. And even through our mistakes, we've been honest with each other. Today, we're sitting here and having a very emotional, if I might say so, the most emotional interview since Breakpoint promotion started. And Arnab, you have an amazing way of bringing that out in all of us, you know, that in that this brotherhood has stood the test of time. I can understand Mahesh's point of view a lot more now when he sees different perspectives of my perspective or Sanjay's perspective or my parents' perspective. Or now I see what Mahesh was going through when he sees Rico's perspective, or when I saw Rico's perspective. That Chalupanthi that was there.
What is this Chalupanthi that you talk about all the time, please?
It's the Kira. It's the same thing. The Chalupanthi and the Kira is the same thing. It's just sowing that doubt. You know, and that is what I kept as kosher, but at the same time had to touch on.
1 second. Let me put that to Mahesh. Mahesh, 4 times in this series, Leander uses this word Chalupanthi, saying that people were doing Chalupanthi with you. He's not ascribed that to you, by the way. He's ascribed that to people around you. He obviously loves you, but loves you to the point of sort of saying that you're the, what would I say, you're the impressionable younger brother he has, who can get played by people who are cunning around you. So people do Chalupanthi around you. I think you must respond to that. I'm sure you've seen that bit.
So, you know, as far as I remember, I think the Chalupanthi word was used with regards to Rico, right?
Rico, yeah.
And, yeah. So Rico and Leander's relationship started 10 years ago before Mahesh came to town, right? I mean, Rico and him, I think, played together in South Club from the time he was a kid. Rico coached Leander for many years. Rico played doubles with Leander. So they had a relationship of their own. Honestly, when I wanted to start working with Rico, I asked Leander what he thought. You know, he said, great idea. You know, he can be good for you at this stage of your career. So that's how I started working with Rico as well. And, you know, so it's something, honestly, I don't want to kind of comment on because, you know, I think Leander is also the godfather of Rico's daughter. So it's a bit tricky because there are a lot of relationships at stake here. But, I continue to say today, like I said in the episode, in the show, right, Rico had no incentive or need to break us up because he was directly affected. His livelihood was, related to my success. And my success was, being the number one team in the world with Leander. So, there was no reason for him to want to do that, because if I didn't perform, he wasn't going to be, in a good space.
Yeah. Okay, I won't push on that more. Leander, I need your attention. You're moving around. Listen to my next question. This is the problem with you, Leander. You're this restless sort, You got to look at.
Someone's got to do all the hard work, Arnab.
No. You see, you've been, viewers, I don't want to say this, but Leander kept Mahesh and me waiting for 20 minutes before this interview started, and before it started, I said, look at it, Leander denied.
I got to say that neither of these guys wanted to shoot at 10:30 this morning because they wanted their beauty sleep on a Saturday morning.
Come on, Leander, you're always late.
2% battery.
You know that.
So here we go.
You know that. You're always late, except on the court. You're the fastest on the court. Tell me one thing, Leander. Now, I need you and Mahesh to fully give me your full attention on this question, right? And we're nearing the end of this interview, but I need your full attention, please. Leander, do I have yours, please? Because this is an important part of the interview.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, thank you.
I saved my battery. I'm on 1%.
Just charge up your batteries. Okay. You're bizarre. You come late, you got 1% in your battery, you keep moving around.
That's because I was working.
How did you put up with this? I wonder how Mahesh put up with you.
Finally,
the last time we did an interview with you, Mahesh showed you some text messages. Shall I show you some of his today?
Okay, so one thing he says, 6th episode, this is a very bad moment. You say as a younger brother, he chose to do the cardinal sin to set up and plan a breakup, and you say, I won't forgive him. Now, this is a very important statement you made. When you say, I won't forgive him, that breaks a lot of hearts, Leander, right? I want you to tell me that again. Yes, you broke up. I'm not getting into the locker room conversation, but when you say he planned the breakup and I won't forgive him, what do you mean? What were you insinuating? Would you still say that in this interview when he's right here in front of you?
I think Breakpoint has been an unbelievable healing for many different thought processes. I think there were some conversations that were left open that we could not complete back in the 90s. And we were able to actually, with more wisdom, more experience, we were able to touch those conversations now and laugh at them or chat about them. Or Breakpoint has been as much of a learning, Arnab, for both of us as it's been for every viewer that's watched it. So in that, I think that when you look at Mahesh's face again today, you can see he has a lot more thoughts in his head. You look at me today and me getting emotional about conversations we're having even here, there are a lot more thoughts in my head. So I think that that's the beauty of life, is that you're always growing, you're always getting better, you see. So when we get back to Bombay, the offer for dinner is open. We'll get together and have some butter chicken and roti, and we'll chat about the next season.
Do you still love each other at an individual level, Mahesh? Through all the years, do you still love each other as much as you did, care for each other as much as you did when you got in together at your peak, say, 96?
Yeah, I think, like I said, right, every decision I've made when it came to my career or even with doing Breakpoint has been an emotional one with Leander. That cannot happen without, referring to the bond that we created from the time we started playing, from the time we were, 20, 21-year-olds playing day in and day out and just traveling alone. So absolutely, that bond will, I think, remain strong forever, even if, there are periods in time that we don't meet or don't talk. I don't think that will ever go away.
Leander?
100% agreed that that bond will never ever go away. As much as we've had differences of opinions, as much as we're very different as people, that constant bond has always been there. And I think one of the things that both of us learned through Breakpoint is that as much as we might have other people in our lives individually, that we still call each other, we still take the time to communicate, and we take the time to maybe go for an ice cream or catch up, you know. I feel like that was possibly a difference that we could have made back in 1999, is we reach out to each other and say, hey, let's go have a chat. Let's sort out our differences and let's get back on the tour and win more Grand Slams together.
So I think there's one thing which both of you owe to all your fans and to the country. Because we lost you when your magic was just bringing India so much glory. You owe it, Hesh, and I want to ask you first, you owe it to the country to be back on the court in some form. For the country and together, you need to give us that opportunity. Do you think it's likely in any way?
Well, I think we're going to have to arm twist Wimbledon after this show comes out to see if they'd be open to inviting us back for the over 45s. And if they do, then first things first, I think we got to get on the practice court and put in some time so that we don't look like fools when we go play. So I think that would be the opportunity.
Wow. Leander, that's an offer and a great opportunity. What do you think?
I think that's fantastic. I've won a junior title there. We both have won the regular titles there in the doubles and the mixed. To do it in the seniors now would be amazing.
I think it's a great idea. I can visualize it. And from the time when you were both sneaking a badge to play at Wimbledon to this happening, the whole story will come full circle. And that's a great way to end this. Leander, this is so exciting. We must make this happen. You must take the opportunity. Come on, you always said, I'm the older brother, I'm taking the initiative. Won't you take the initiative this time?
Well, we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago, and we both have agreed that if Wimbledon gives us an opportunity to play in the Legends there, that we would go and play it. And I think that would be a lot of fun.
Oh, it will be. It will be a lot of fun for all of us. It's so wonderful to see both of you together. I think you're in a happy space now. And I can only say to both of you, I'm glad you did this. I'm sure you feel a lot lighter after this. And since you're inviting each other for lunch and dinner, give me the opportunity of hosting you for lunch in our studios whenever you're here. It'll be great to see two of my good friends.
Sounds good.
Looking forward to that.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you, Hesh.
Thanks, Arnab. Always a pleasure. Thanks, Hesh.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.